When the truth finally came out, Somnang was completely shocked. He never imagined that his wife was involved not with just one, but several younger men. Chun admitted to secretly dating Sothia for about 6 months, during which they had been intimate on multiple occasions. Hello, welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into another shocking true story that has unfolded in our world. This time, the tale takes us to Kampong Cham City, Cambodia, where a family generously welcomed a young man into their home, treating him like their own son. They supported his education and gave him everything he needed for a better future. But what happened next is beyond comprehension. A betrayal so deep and painful it left the family questioning everything. What exactly did this young man do to shatter the trust of the family that took him in? Let's explore this heartbreaking story in detail. Stay tuned. Our story begins with a remarkable woman named Sothia, born in 1972 in the small village of Kumpens. Known for her beauty, warmth, and kindness, she was a vibrant presence in her community. In 1998, she married for the first time and worked diligently at an insurance company. Her husband often joked about her chatty and energetic nature, but always highlighted her gentle and loving heart. Their joy doubled with the birth of their son, Chon Neri, in 2000, creating a picture-perfect family. Sadly, in 2007, tragedy struck when Sothia's husband passed away due to complications from diabetes. Left to raise her son alone, she embraced the challenge with strength and resilience. In 2011, Sothia tried to rebuild her life by remarrying. Unfortunately, the marriage lasted only 2 years, marked by misunderstandings and discord. Some said she was overly assertive, while others believed her new husband was simply after her wealth. Despite these setbacks, Sothia pressed forward, focusing on her work and raising her son. By 2016, fate introduced Sothia to a man named Somnang through one of her company's directors. Somnang, a 37-year-old entrepreneur who ran a successful business selling vehicle accessories, had also experienced a failed marriage. The two hit it off instantly, and after nearly a year of dating, they tied the knot. At the time, Sothia was 44, and the couple began building a life together. Wanting to be closer to her new husband, Sothia requested a job transfer to Kampong Cham City, which was approved in 2018. The couple settled into Somnang's spacious family home. While Sothia initially wanted to purchase a new house, Somnang suggested they make use of his parents' house to avoid leaving it unoccupied. Sothia's son, Chon Neri, moved with them and quickly adapted to his new environment. The bond between Chon Neri and his stepfather was unexpectedly strong, bringing peace and joy to Sothia, who cherished the harmony in her blended family. Chon Neri, now a young man, was known for his introverted and quiet nature. He had previously studied automotive engineering in Kumpens and later joined a specialized mechanical engineering school in Kampong Cham City. He also took on an apprenticeship at a local workshop, showcasing his dedication and skill. Despite coming from a wealthy family, Chon Neri was modest and self-sufficient, steering clear of the extravagant lifestyle often associated with affluence. Having grown up largely independent due to his mother's busy schedule, he carried himself with maturity and responsibility, a reflection of the hardships and lessons he had faced throughout his life. As their marriage entered its 3rd year, Somnang found himself longing for a child of his own. Though Sothia already had her 19-year-old son, Chon Neri, from her first marriage, Somnang felt something was missing. He wanted a child that carried his own bloodline. While Sothia didn't seem too concerned, possibly because she already had Chon Neri, Somnang's desire for another baby grew stronger. After a visit to the doctor, they learned that while Sothia was fertile, her lifestyle needed some adjustments. The doctor recommended that she rest more, reduce stress from work, and cut back on smoking and drinking to improve her chances of conceiving. Taking this advice seriously, Sothia applied for leave from her job in June 2020. She spent most of her time at home, meditating and trying to relax. However, the lack of social interaction made her feel lonely during the day when her husband was at work. To address this, Somnang suggested inviting his 24-year-old nephew, Virak, to live with them. Virak was still in college, and Somnang promised to cover his tuition until he graduated if he agreed to move in. The young man was already close to Somnang, who considered him like a son. Virak was privy to many family secrets and even had insight into Somnang's financial matters. Without hesitation, Virak moved into the large family home. Having Virak around seemed to lift Sothia's spirits. She felt less isolated, especially since Virak helped with tasks around the house that were too strenuous for her. He was also very friendly with Chonneri, who was naturally quiet and reserved. Virak's presence brought a refreshing energy to the household. He often tidied the garden, cleaned, and spent hours keeping Sothia company. On his days off from college, he was at home nearly 24/7, ensuring that Sothia felt supported. Their efforts paid off. By the end of August 2020, the doctor announced that Sothia was 7 weeks pregnant. The news brought joy and excitement to the family. Sothia was over the moon, and Somnang was absolutely thrilled. He even took 2 days off work to celebrate, doting on his wife and expressing his gratitude to Virak for all his help. With a newfound sense of contentment, Somnang's demeanor shifted. He slept better at night, no longer plagued by the stress and exhaustion that had once kept him awake. After dinner, he would quickly doze off, leaving behind the late-night grind that used to define his routine. Life seemed brighter for the family, with the promise of a new addition on the horizon. In early September 2019, Somnang began experiencing frequent and severe dizziness. Concerned about his health, he decided to visit the doctor and asked his nephew, Virak, to accompany him. However, Virak wasn't home at the time. Somnang figured his nephew might be at college or out with friends, possibly even on a date, though he wasn't sure if Virak had a girlfriend. Assuming it was normal for a young guy to be busy, Somnang went to the doctor on his own to have his symptoms checked out. After a thorough examination, the doctor told Somnang that his symptoms might be linked to the prolonged use of sleeping pills. The doctor warned him that consuming such medication long-term could harm his kidneys and could even be the cause of his persistent headaches. This revelation left Somnang baffled. He had never taken sleeping pills in his life, so how could they show up in his system? The doctor was just as puzzled. The medical team decided to run additional tests, including a urine analysis, which confirmed that Somnang's body had a significant amount of sleeping pill compounds. When asked about his habits, Somnang explained that he only took occasional supplements, and even then, rarely. The doctor advised him to come back in 3 days for a follow-up to determine if the sleeping pills were still in his system and whether the dizziness subsided. When Somnang returned home, his mind raced with questions. He searched his entire bedroom for any sign of sleeping pills, wondering if he might have unknowingly consumed them. However, he found nothing. Then, he began to suspect the iced milk coffee that his wife, Sothia, lovingly prepared for him every night. Could the coffee have been spiked with sleeping pills? That evening, when Sothia handed him his usual iced coffee before bed, Somnang secretly disposed of it in the bathroom, pretending he had drunk it. Surprisingly, he found himself wide awake all night, unable to sleep, a stark contrast to his usual routine. This confirmed his suspicion. The iced milk coffee had been laced with something. Somnang's mind filled with worry and questions. Why would his wife put sleeping pills in his coffee? Was she genuinely concerned about his trouble sleeping and trying to help? Or was there another, more sinister reason behind it? The uncertainty gnawed at him as he tried to piece together the puzzle of his wife's intentions. In late September 2019, Somnang learned from his assistant that his stepson, Chonneri, hadn't been home for 2 days. This struck him as odd since Chonneri was usually punctual and reliable. Worried, Somnang decided to check in with a WhatsApp message instead of calling, thinking the young man might be busy at work. An hour later, Chonneri replied, asking, "Is Mr. Somnang's nephew, Virak, home?" Confused by the question, Somnang checked with the assistant at home and found out that Virak wasn't there either. The assistant assumed Virak might be at college or hanging out with friends. Chonneri replied again, "Just look for Virak until you find him. Who knows, he might be with Sothia's mom." This response left Somnang both shocked and suspicious. He realized he had been so focused on work and resting at home that he might have overlooked something happening right under his nose. Determined to get answers, he asked his assistant if she had noticed anything unusual. The assistant mentioned overhearing Virak and Sophia discussing the Ibis Hotel earlier that afternoon before leaving together. Somnang immediately called Chonneri to share what he'd learned, and together they decided to check the Ibis Hotel. Somnang didn't want to confront this situation alone, but he also didn't want to involve anyone outside the family. They met in the hotel parking lot, and after some inquiries at the reception desk, they learned that a couple under the names Sophia and Virak had indeed checked in. However, the staff refused to provide the room number or further details, citing privacy policies. Frustrated but unwilling to leave, Somnang and Chonneri decided to wait in the basement parking area near Sophia's car. Around 9 p.m., their patience paid off. They spotted Sophia and Virak emerging from the elevator, walking toward the car. Fueled by anger and betrayal, Somnang rushed toward them and confronted the pair. He punched Virak with all his might while Sophia tried desperately to break up the fight. Chonneri, standing nearby, didn't intervene. He seemed too disillusioned and exhausted, having witnessed their inappropriate behavior at home on multiple occasions, whether it was in the kitchen, the garden, or even the living room while the household assistant was out. Meanwhile, his stepfather often came home from work and went straight to sleep, unaware of the events unfolding behind his back. After the scuffle, Somnang dragged Sophia home, instructing Virak to arrange for an online motorcycle taxi. Chonneri, still processing everything, called a friend to pick up his car while he drove his mother's car back to their house. The incident left the entire family reeling, and Somnang knew this was just the beginning of a storm he couldn't ignore. For several days, Virak didn't return home and was also absent from his college classes. Meanwhile, Somnang, still reeling from the shocking events, took a leave of absence from work to stay home and keep an eye on his wife, Sophia. For about a week, the atmosphere in the house was tense and filled with unspoken questions. Then, on October 4, 2019, Somnang received an unexpected call from the police. They informed him that his nephew, Virak, had been found dead at Kompong Cham City General Hospital. The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. The authorities also reported that they had apprehended a suspect named Chun, believed to be the perpetrator. The investigation revealed shocking details. According to the police, Chun confessed that he had been harboring a grudge against Virak for the past 2 months. Chun admitted he and Virak didn't know each other personally, but they had a troubling connection. Both were romantically involved with Sophia. For 6 months, Chun had been in a secret relationship with Sophia, who had been generous with him, showering him with money and affection. However, once Virak entered the picture, Sophia's attention shifted, and she began to distance herself from Chun. Feeling betrayed and jealous, Chun grew resentful of Virak. The situation escalated when Chun confronted Virak on multiple occasions, and their disputes turned physical. Security footage from a hotel lobby showed the two men arguing and even coming to blows. In his confession, Chun stated that his anger toward Virak reached a boiling point, leading to the tragic shooting. The revelations left Somnang in utter disbelief. He never imagined that his wife had been involved with not just one but several young men, including Chun. The thought of her repeated infidelity and the chaos it brought to their family left him devastated. Both Sophia and Somnang refused to engage with journalists, avoiding questions and keeping interactions with the police strictly professional. Their priority was to protect Somnang's reputation and business interests. Chonneri, deeply affected by the unfolding scandal, decided he could no longer stay in the household. He viewed his mother as the source of all the family's problems. Before leaving, he disclosed the events at the Ibis Hotel to the authorities and media, including how he had witnessed the altercation between Somnang, Sophia, and Virak. After that, Chonneri disappeared entirely. Despite Somnang and Sophia's efforts to contact him, Chonneri's phone remained switched off. Desperate to find him, the couple turned to local television and online platforms, pleading for their son to return or at least reach out to them. However, as days turned into weeks, their hope of reconciliation seemed to fade, leaving their once stable family in shambles. During the trial at Kampong Cham City District Court on December 7, 2019, the judge sentenced 23-year-old Chun to life in prison for intentionally taking another person's life. According to the court proceedings, Chun admitted he had been romantically involved with Sothia, claiming they had engaged in intimate relations multiple times at local inns. He confessed that Sothia had even promised to marry him, but he later felt betrayed, used, and discarded when she turned her attention to another young man, Virak. This fueled his anger and jealousy, leading to the tragic events. The courtroom was filled with tension as Chun's family and friends erupted in protest after the verdict was announced. They argued that Sothia should also face charges for manipulating young men and dragging them into such a destructive situation. Despite their calls for justice, Sothia remained unpunished by the court. However, the aftermath of the trial took a toll on Sothia's personal and professional life. The insurance company where she worked grew weary of the negative publicity surrounding her and decided to terminate her employment. Adding to her woes, her husband Somnang filed for divorce while she was 6 months pregnant. Despite Sothia's efforts to stop the divorce, Somnang was resolute. He left her and kicked her out of their home, suspecting that the child she was carrying might not even be his but could belong to either Virak or Chun. With her life in disarray, Sothia returned to Kampens, where she focused on searching for her son, Chon Neri, who had disappeared after the scandal broke. Meanwhile, Somnang poured his energy into his business selling vehicle accessories and motorcycle parts, determined to rebuild his life without the burdens of his tumultuous marriage. Although he considered taking legal action against Sothia for allegedly spiking his iced coffee with sleeping pills, he ultimately chose to let it go, opting to move forward and leave the painful chapter behind. What lessons can we learn from this story?